Welcome, everybody, to a Summer Sessions episode with the Women's Trucking Federation of Canada. Today, I have Jackie with me from T-Lane. Jackie, can you do a little introduction for yourself, please?
Sure. Hello. I'm Jackie, obviously. I'm from T-Lane Transportation. I am the operations manager here. So I started in trucking probably, I don't know, we'll go over 20 years ago, scarily.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was a long, long time ago. I had a father who had a father. My father was a trucker. He was actually a heavy duty mechanic, and so he was also transferred into trucking when the industry kind of went a little sideways in the 80s there. Yeah, so I grew up with a dad who was in trucking, and so I would ride along with him, loved it. Always, out on the trips with him. I was the kid who stayed awake the whole time in the truck with him, so I did love like the adventures we went on together. And but it was so funny because he was like, "Don't get into the business, Jackie, go do something else, go to school." So I went to engineering. Then funnily enough, I kind of was like, ooh, that's a lot of math for me. It wasn't, it's like, I don't know if I want to do this every day. So I did architecture. And then
Okay.
from there, I know this is like craziness. And then from that, I went into actually architectural technology and I was working for actually not even a half a year. And a trucking company that my dad was associated with was looking for someone to do their safety and do their permit drawings for them. And with my AutoCAD knowledge from my architectural technology, I was like, I can do that. So I went, interviewed, and then that was the start of my career, 2003. So I started off as safety and permits, like, or helping drawing for the permits. And yeah, that was in safety back then was part-time. I wasn't a full-time safety, which as we know now, that's just not even a thing.
No.
So I did grow the safety program and everything. And I've done pretty much every job in the company that you can do except
Have you
for the
driven?
accounting. The only thing I haven't done is drive, but I did get my Q endorsement. So I do have my air
Oh,
brakes
that's amazing. So you could hop in something if you needed to.
if I needed to, scarily. But
Tell
yeah.
me, no, that's not scary. That's badass. Tell me a little bit about being a kid doing the ride-alongs. We've got some other episodes where we're talking to some of the board members about what it looks like to be a boardroom kid and have your children come in and do that. But what was it like to be in the truck with your dad? How did that kind of stir your concept of what a career would look like, of what the industry was, and kind of what your place was in it? How did that kind of come together in your adulthood afterwards?
Oh, totally. Well, basically though, as a kid, it was more to me like this was a man's job, right? Like my dad was out there and he was like, "Oh yeah, it's hard." Mind you, he was an equipment hauler too. So that was an interesting thing too. So I would watch him drive these heavy, heavy, heavy pieces of equipment onto the back of his trailer. The trailer would be like tilting back, everything's tilting back. Like it was almost, well, it was scary, especially as a kid to
As a
watch that
child,
too,
yeah.
right? And you're watching your dad do this, but it was so cool to me. Like it was, I just thought it was amazing, like to be driving, like this is what he did. He just drove for a living, and he got to see
Mm.
all these crazy parts of BC, Alberta, because he was mainly BC, Alberta based. I got to see all the back country. I watched my dad chain up. I watched him do all these things, and I'm like, wow, it's hard work, like very, very hard work. And I remember that and just like, just being in awe of it. But for me at the time, I just loved that time with my dad too. So I just idolized
Mm.
anything he did. And I'd try to pick up the chains and like, bring them to him. And, but it was very like much that, time of life where it was like, oh no, like, as a woman, you didn't help out with that. You didn't do that. But he would let me, come around with him and do this stuff with him. So and I was getting so used to it, right? I'd be in the shop with the boys, trying to use the facilities there, which again are just a whole sidebar. But
Oh my gosh, 20 years ago too.
oh, it was just everyone smoked, it was all that, all of that. But I still loved it. I loved being in there. I love the smell to this day. Like I love the smell of like the diesel and that, in the when it just smelling it in the shops
Wow.
and that. Yep. So
Wow. Okay, I love that for you. I love the smell of gas. I can't reject it. Brings me right back to being a kid with my papa going snowmobile driving. So
mhm.
I can resonate with the desire and the funky smell and love. But but that is really interesting. So you were talking to your dad a lot as a kid, loving doing it, loving the concept of what that career looked like for him, but you didn't necessarily see that for yourself. Is that fair to say?
No, that's the thing back then. Like you were just like, yeah, it wasn't for me. Plus my dad was like, it's hard work, right? Like go get an education, go do all that. Like and what's funny too is he actually did go into business at the U of A, like before he even started, in heavy duty
Mm-hmm.
mechanics and trucking and that too. So, and I just literally followed in the same lines as him because I went to U of A, did engineering, and then ended up dropping out, going to do all this other stuff too. So it was just a weird trajectory of my life that I did end up, literally in the same business as him. And but I was saying, it wasn't really thought that like as a woman you would go do that. I was, I wanted to be a mom, I wanted to stay home with my kids, I wanted to do, so like it really wasn't even a thought at the time for me to
Mm.
actually go into trucking, which is sad, really, too, when you think
It
about it now.
it is specifically because it was something that you had interest in. You were
Mhm.
alongside, you were happy to be there, you were awake the entire ride. Like
Yeah.
you said, that's very unique for a child. So it's clear that you had interest in it, but interesting that they were rejecting it as a potential opportunity. Tell me a little bit about what it was like transitioning. You were an engineer, you got a job as an architect, and then you transitioned in. You were there for a very short, brief period of
Right.
time, but
Mhm.
what propelled you out of that? Specifically, something that you would probably spend at least 4 years accumulating a degree for. How did
Mhm.
you go, no, not for me? Like half a
Yeah.
year, this isn't the thing. I'm gonna go do that bad boy over there, and I'm pretty excited about it. What was that process like?
Oh, that's funny because okay, so I didn't get a degree, it was a diploma, but I did do 4 years in schooling
Okay.
doing all of it.
Yeah.
So yes, I did work my butt off to get to that point. But
Paper
again,
is paper.
right? The economy, again, it was like 2003, like with the architecture and that too, being in Edmonton, like there just wasn't, I could see it kind of dwindling out. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just like, well, I don't know, and again, I was sitting in front of a computer screen the entire time. I'm a very people person in that too, and I love being out there. It was just so much sitting, doing. I was like, oh, I just can't do this. And so kind of when, I could use like a little piece that I went to school for to be a part of something else, I kind of jumped all over it. And there must have been
Mm,
just something about, again, the industry and that just pulled me towards it too. Like I was totally obviously daddy's girl and I wanted to, and I think the fact that it was a trucking company that was associated with who my dad was working with at the same time, it just really intrigued me, right? I was like, I could be there, I could be with him, be part of that too.
mm,
So I think I jumped all over that and that's kind of just what happened. It was just kind of serendipitous at the same time, too, that
mm.
that position came up for me.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it was. It's not surprising though, because 30% of kids do what their parents did, or they lead in the path that their parents led them down, because as we all know, monkey see, monkey do, and so it's easy
Mhm.
to follow in those footsteps. I'll ask this last question, then we'll fast forward a bit because I don't want to get stuck completely in the past. But if you were talking to students right now, like picture you had a room full of 30 students who are all about to graduate, getting their degrees, they worked really hard, diplomas, whatever it should be. They're like, I don't know that what I did was the right area for me, was the right industry, the right job, the right role. What should they know about transportation if they are considering it? What is what is the most important thing for them to kind of start to think about if they would consider coming in this direction, in your opinion?
I think it's just one of those industries that you don't think about, but that can encompass so many different aspects too. Like you could be an accountant in here, you could be a project manager in transportation, you could do all of these different things. It's not just about the driving, even though the driving, like when you think about it, like to be able to go to all these places, travel to all these different, towns, these that you would never see, to get out there. And I know it's not as worldly as some people obviously want to be, like going all over the globe, but man, what an amazing thing to even explore your own province, your own country. So I
Mm-hmm.
think just to open your eyes to like what could be out there for you, what type of person are you? There's so many different roles. There's sales roles, there's finance roles, right? There's the, like I said, the project management roles. Like it's not just so like I'm just driving a truck too. And I
Yeah.
never want to say just driving a truck, but that's the industry just encompasses so much that you don't even realize it's
Mm-hmm.
other. Like I said, I use my AutoCAD. I use my, like there's engineering. There's all this that could be used with it. So I think it's just kind of like open your eyes to like what could be with this industry too.
I like that. I like that it's not, of course, we talk about this all the time. It's not just behind the wheel. It's not just under the hood. It's not just behind the desk. There are roles for everybody in this industry. I
Hmm.
really, really like
Hmm.
that. That's cool.
Yeah.
What would you say is one specific takeaway that you've kind of had from this industry? Like one major lesson, one major milestone that has kind of gone down through the industry? Is there anything that, like, I mean, it kind of has been your entire career,
Hmm.
taking a couple months out of it. So more your
Yeah.
career rather than just transportation. But is there anything that specifically sticks out as like, this has been my biggest lesson?
As I think, if we're going to go as a woman in it, my biggest lesson is advocate
Either.
for yourself, right? Like advocate, advocate, advocate. Like you cannot, I want to say you can't not be confident because it happens so often too. But we are, like as women, we're just as strong in almost all the roles. I shouldn't say almost all the roles as men are. So I think we just, get in our heads a lot of times, right? And we think because it is a male dominated business. And we know that like there is still so much men in it. We're starting to get more women in it, but like even it can fit in with your home life. It can fit in with, and it's just getting better and better and better that way. But we have to advocate for ourselves there too, because I think everyone's perception is automatically to go to that man, automatically that he's suited for this role, automatically, right? And whereas we have to be confident enough to say, like, I can do that. I can dispatch just as well as that guy. I can project lead just as well as that person too. And I think that probably is my biggest takeaway after being, pushed aside or turned down for roles and that I was more than qualified to do, but I didn't advocate enough for myself with those roles too. So that probably for me stands out as the biggest takeaway from that.
I like that. And I want to know if you have any tips or tricks on the concept of advocating for yourself. But I just love what you said there, that we are just as strong.
Hmm.
We are just as strong, and strength doesn't necessarily mean the muscle that is within the skin that you wear every day, but it can mean the mental capacity that you have to carry something forward. It can mean your relationship building strength. It can mean so many different things. And just because we can't all bench the exact same thing, and there are
Yeah.
some women out there who can bench a heck of a lot. Don't let me disregard the
Yeah.
strength of some females, but I understand that that's not the norm. But the strength goes so much deeper than that, and it's so much more significant. And so I really like that. We are just just as strong
Hmm.
as everybody else. But
Yep.
what would you say in terms of advocation for yourself is like a tip or a trick that you would give to somebody? Is there anything that you like had to teach yourself specifically to do? Any like statements or sentences that really helped you kind of be like, okay, this is my trigger sentence, and this is the first one that I'll say so that I can get over my fear. I don't know, anything like that at all that kind of comes to mind?
Whenever I'm coaching or mentoring other women in the male dominated world, I always say that you need to make a list for yourself. And this is one thing. You need to make a list of your strengths. You need to make a list of what you've done. Um, not only for a resume or anything that you're going through, but just for yourself, when you actually can put pen to paper of like, I did this, I led this team, I got this much in sales, I, dispatched this many loads. You need to put that down there. You need to do that for yourself, all your wins. You need to celebrate them because we don't celebrate our own wins enough. And so that's
Mm.
something that like and to have that list, if you can have it even in front of you or just able to pull up, yeah, girl. Yes. See? And that's it. And that's it. And when you can see that, you can see how amazing you are because I don't think we give ourselves enough kudos too, and just in general,
Mm.
when you can see that and it's not just, one thing that you're good at. You're good at all of these things. So I think that would be one of the biggest things I would say to do.
I like that. Write it down. Yeah, and I just showed here I have this whiteboard that's kind of all of my like prospects, things that are coming forward, things that I'm like, okay, like I've got interest, we've got desire, let's keep pulling. Exciting, let's keep trucking this forward. And it kind of brings that excitement forward. Then, however, because it also brings a lot of anxiety and scared and fear. But then I have to the other side of me a mirror that I get dressed in sometimes. Um, like prior to these conversations, my nice little suits. I keep all of those in my office. But I have with me just kind of like a bunch of the different things about like, I don't know. My biggest one right now is I spoke on Sirius XM, which I'm like so excited about. So I'm like, that's
Yes.
freaking cool. And I like
Yes.
blasted across the mirror because you're absolutely right. We don't give ourselves enough kudos. We don't give ourselves enough credit. And in the forever chasing world that we live in today of just
Mhm.
what is next, the second that it's done, it's out of our minds. And it's like, well,
Right.
no, you worked for a year to do that, or for 3 years to do that, or whatever that looks like. And so I like that. That's really good. Giving yourself the kudos that are due and leaning into that. Is there anything specific that you would say, whether within this industry or just your life and kind of how it's gone and ebbed and flowed, because this is also your life. Like transportation is your career, but evidently it goes beyond the boundaries of what that typically looks like. Is there anything that you're like, I'm good at this? This skill is amazing. And if it's the advocation for yourself, that's totally reasonable. Or is there anything else that comes to mind that you could have a tip or a resource for some of our members to go out and check out to grow with?
Um, my superpower that I always call it, I say I have a
Your
superpower.
superpower? I love
I
it.
say
Let's
my
hear.
superpower is I can get anyone to talk to me. I can get anyone to share themselves with me. I get anyone to open up to me. That's just a superpower. And I think it's an underrated soft skill. And I think we don't touch enough on
Mm.
soft skills, and especially women and their innate abilities to be able to do a lot of this stuff. And that we say are, because trucking, of course, is very manly and you have to, do these certain things and be
Yeah.
these certain ways. And I think it's underrated, a lot of these soft skills we have. And so that's what I would say to people is they need to like get in touch with their soft skills, because in the future, and as you know, with all your Gen Z work and all your work in HR and recruiting and that, you understand like nowadays leadership actually requires a lot more feminine soft skills than it ever has before. And typically feminine soft skills, right? Typically things that we
Mhm.
were good at, the collaboration, the, leading with compassion, leading with empathy. So even like I say, my superpower is getting people to talk. That is such a key skill, especially in a management position, because sometimes that's all people need is to be heard. And that's all that
Mm.
needs to happen, right? You need to just get on their side. You need to understand what they're going through. It's not a dictatorship. I'm not demanding things of you, and I think that's where we need to go in this day and age. And so that's where I would say is like just lean into those skills more and be confident with those skills too, because they are just as important as being assertive and being like all this other stuff that we're supposed to be in these
Mhm.
industries and doing, especially in leading particularly. And now it's like,
Mhm.
okay, no, now we actually I need the problem solving, I need the collaboration, I need that organization. It's
Mhm.
a lot of that key skills that this generation already kind of knows and really needs to. And then it's, of course, now you're dealing with so many generations in one workplace too. So
Mm-hmm.
it's having to, especially the empathy and listening. Oh my God, that's huge, right? Like that's something that like we really, really, really need. So I think that, I guess that would be it. So like using your superpower.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, at the very end of my presentation, my biggest thing is if you're going to take an hour, but if you want 10 seconds, it's listen to learn, learn to understand. And once you understand, that's when you have the opportunity to speak. But if you're trying to speak before you ask questions, it's going to be very challenging. Is
Mhm.
there a book that you read, a course that you took, anything that kind of started to help develop that at all? Or is that really just very natural to you?
Um, that's for sure very natural to me. Like, and I'm, like I'm in training as a coach and that as well too. So like just that training has really solidified that basically too. But I do read a lot of like Simon Sinek, Brené Brown, all those types of authors, right? And kind of more of a
Hmm.
new way, a new approach to business and that as well too. So I would suggest any of those as well too.
I love it. Give me some Brene Brown. It's the best.
Hmm.
But that is very, very good. Um, what would you say to somebody who's perhaps been more of an Socratic leader, or someone who's like, I gave clear direction, I give path, and then I get out, but wants to lean into that and doesn't know how? What would you suggest that person start with? How do they kind of begin to work that muscle?
I think it's just like a lot, even like what you say too, like start listening, start, asking the questions, be curious about things, be curious to others, open yourself up to review, criticism, and it doesn't have to be harsh. It's like what worked well, even better if, that's a classic coach, what we've been doing, in our coaching and that.
Hmm.
And it's just I think being curious is one of the biggest things too. And I don't think we're curious enough anymore. I think we're so and you have these leaders who are so authoritative, they're, clear, like you say, the clear direction, all that. Yeah, that's great. But sometimes even though you think you have clear direction, your direction isn't so clear. Even though you think these things. So there's got to be a reason why, and we have to start thinking about that more, especially as we bring in the Gen Zs, we bring in all of these, these people who have not, dealt with a lot of this workforce that we've dealt with a lot of what we, I'm more the elder millennial Gen X, group that, yeah, we have the technology, we've been part of that, but we've had to forge our own way, right? So it's kind of like now it's like with these different generations all mingling together, we have to start thinking about that too. It's not the old school way of thinking, and I think we have to get that out of our heads. So I think it's just, yes, just being curious and
Mm.
knowing that you don't know everything. I don't care how high up you are, how much, how long you've been in the industry, you don't. And we can't always fall back on, well, this is what we always did. This is the way
You're
we always did things, right?
You're telling me I'm not perfect? I don't have
Yeah.
everything under control, every
Shocking.
single piece of information. That's not fair.
Yeah,
No, of
right.
course not.
What?
Um, yeah, I was just giving that presentation this morning, that how do you recruit and retain the next gen? And somebody asked me, they were like, what is one thing that we're all failing at? And I was like, if you're doing the same thing that you've been doing just because you've always done it that way, that's a fail. I'm like, I'm
Yes.
happy for you to be doing what you've always done because it works, but not
Yes.
because it's just what's always been done. And so taking an evaluation of that is really important. I
Mm-hmm.
really, I really
Yep.
like that. That's good. All right. Well, we are going to lean into the last little bit of our time together here, and we are going to debunk one industry myth, which we already started talking about a little bit at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And the myth that we're going to talk about is that women don't belong in operations. What
Mm-hmm.
would you say to that as a woman in operations?
As a woman in operations, well, it's so interesting because, yeah, because I think that's the immediate thought, right? Like you didn't drive, you weren't in the field, you didn't do that, and it's not true. And like I said, I was lucky enough, I was in every single position. So I could kind of, fight my way in there, but you don't need to be doing that. And I think it's more of people are worried about the assertiveness. Again, you're dealing with mostly men, you're dealing, how are they going to react to you? And I think it's just so not true anymore. And that's now we have to just kind of think about that with bringing women into this too, like with the project management, with anything like that, right? Dispatching. I have some amazing dispatchers, permits, all of that, who everyone's women, like we actually have a huge presence of women in our company. So we're very, very lucky. And so I see it every day. But yeah, it was something that typically that, you wouldn't even think to put a woman in this position because, I mean, operations is one of the hardest parts besides actually being out in the field and driving. And I would say operations is one of the hardest positions to be in, particularly dispatchers and that, because you know what, like people don't like you any which way you go. So the drivers don't like you if you give them crappy loads. The clients don't like you if you're telling them bad news. Like they're always constantly, in the state. I always feel bad for my dispatch too team, right? So it's kind of interesting to think of that. So I would say, and I think it's more like that. So that's where people think that women can't handle that sort of thing too, which hello, we've handled so much crap out there, right? Constantly.
Yeah.
So like throw it at me. I'm good. Right. Like, and I think that's where like we have to have a tougher show. We have to, be tough about it. And you don't have to be tough either, but you can still do the job and be assertive. And like I said, and most of the time it's I can get more flies with honey, right, than I can with whatever that saying
A
is,
fly
but
trap.
yeah, the
Yeah.
trap. So, and I know I can talk to the drivers. If I just sit there, talk to the drivers nicely, explain to them what's going on, I did that in dispatch. So it's just, that's one of the things I would say is like, not true. So
Not true. Not true at
not
all.
true.
Bring them in. And I really like that tip that your people should know how to do everything. It's
Mhm.
it's important, specifically as your role in your operations management position, you're cross-trained to everything. There's no reason that you couldn't do the job that you're doing because you've done all the jobs that you're supporting. And
Yeah.
so that's awesome. I love
Yeah.
that.
Well, it's definitely helped me. Yes.
most, most certainly. I was just talking to someone the other day. They were like, "What do you do?" And I was like, "It depends on who's not working with us right now."
Yeah.
Like I don't know.
Totally. Totally.
Depends on the team,
Yeah. Who's on vacation right now? We're doing
right?
it all. Yeah.
But wonderful. And then we're going to close this bad boy out with a good human trafficking awareness tip. Is there one specifically that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I think it's for sure just being someone who is involved, in an emotionally abusive relationship and that too, to know that trusting your gut too, when you know things are wrong, when you know it's too good to be true, when you know it's, you know, there, there is, I fully believe in a woman's intuition and that too. So if something seems off, listen to your friends, listen to yourself, and
Mm,
really and trust it too. Trust that feeling. And if like if you're even thinking that maybe it usually is, so it's like if you're even thinking, oh, maybe this is wrong, maybe I shouldn't be in this situation, maybe this doesn't seem right, this doesn't feel right, it's not right.
yeah.
And I think that's where we have to get to that point is like if it feels wrong, it's wrong.
Yeah.
Simple.
If you're Googling the question,
Yeah.
it it is whatever the question is.
Yeah. If you have to Google it, it's true. Like if you're
Yeah.
asking. Yeah. Yeah. So
I
that for
also
me, I
really,
think.
yeah, I also, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I also
No
really
worries.
like what you said about friendship. Tell your friends, listen to your friends. Like if
Mhm.
you don't feel like you can tell your friends about what's going on, that's a problem. That's a significant issue. And
Yeah.
if they're speaking life into you, they probably have a different perspective than you do and an outsider's perspective. And
Yeah.
sometimes you know that person better and you can disregard with respect and understanding of the situation what they're trying to say to you. But also, outsiders' perspectives are really valuable. And
Mhm.
oftentimes we have blinds and we just don't know what's going on and blindfolding ourselves through the process. So yeah, I like that a lot. If there's any fear around telling your friends, that's a problem. If you're Googling
Yes.
it,
Yes.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
If you're leaning into that, you need to trust your gut. That's really good.
Mhm. Mhm.
On a much happier note, a much better note, end us off with telling us a little bit about the mentorship program you got going on.
Oh, yes, can't wait. So we are going to be starting the mentorship program in September fall. And it's going to be about 6 months long. I should say about, we're going to do it for 6 months. So I want to get as many women involved as possible. And it's from all department. So drivers to execs, right? Like I want everyone involved. There's always a place for mentorship in our lives. There's a place to be mentored and menteed. So like you can be the one, getting the advice, or you can be the one giving the advice, or you can be both, because again, you don't know everything, right? So you don't know what you don't know too. So it can be as simple
Mm,
as, a manager wanting to get up to exec roles, and then it can be a driver who's like, I want to move into the office even too, or even just
mm,
become a better driver. So that's where we're going with this. So we're super super excited. It's part of like a community initiative, like we are such a small group within the trucking industry, and so to have that community there, to have that ability to network, to instill more confidence in us, to instill more leadership abilities, like it's all like win 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 win. So we're super
mhm.
excited that, yeah, Women's Trucking Federation of Canada is going to be doing this. So it's her power, her path, her vision. So we're very, very excited to be launching this.
Her power, her path, her vision. I love it. And is that just for women? Can men apply? How does that work?
Yeah, for now it's for just for women who will
Okay.
be a part of this program. And then we'll hopefully be able to expand even more, because yeah, it's helpful, and of course to have mentors, mentees, in of all
Styles, kinds,
styles.
vibes, whatever you want to call it.
Everyone. But yeah, for now it's women. Absolutely, because that is where we want to put our focus on, and that is the smallest, part of or the smallest grouping, right? So, yeah, let's lift ourselves up.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I give me a mentor. I want one. I need one. Bring it in. I will take
Yeah.
one. If
Yes.
somebody wants to be my mentee, they are welcome to. There is something so beautiful about mentee mentor relationships that go both ways. As
Hmm.
somebody that wants to come but also wants to learn and listen, and like there is something so beautiful about it going just one direction, but there is also something so powerful about collaborative, open conversations and questions and pushback in each of those things. And
Hmm.
so I'm so excited to see where that goes for everybody and what that is. That'll be so much fun. Is there anything else that you want to say to the WTFC members before we go? Anything else that's on your mind?
No, I don't think so. Just I'm super excited to be a part of it, and yeah, I just love this. I love the community. I love everything. So yeah, it's just, I mean, obviously this has been my life, so I'm
Yeah,
super happy to be a part of it. Yeah.
love it. Love it. I have one other question for you now that we're just kind of wrapping up and I'm thinking about our entire conversation. You had mentioned that you have a daughter.
Hmm.
How old is she? Ish. You don't have to
She's
give us an exact age, but like,
all good. Teenager, 15. Yeah.
nice. What's your take on introducing her into the industry? And then we'll finish with this. But you had mentioned that you were in your truck with your dad, and he was like, no bueno, don't do it. But with
Yeah.
a 15-year-old daughter, where do you sit today on that side?
Oh, she's like, so she's been a part of my, obviously even my professional life. She's been coming to work with me for so long. So she knows everyone here. She even knows a lot of the drivers come in and say hi to her and that too. So I think with her, I never steer her away from anything. So
Mm,
she's fully embraced everything. She's like, she's everything I wish I was, so I
Mm,
just love raising this strong woman already. And it's so crazy to see, like, right, all these things that you project out there, and she soaks it in like a sponge, right? So, and she's
mm.
just so cool about everything too. So I think she sees what's out there, but she definitely has her own vision and dream right now, which is actually in engineering, ironically, in that world.
That's so funny.
It is so funny. So but like the mechanical engineer, like she has no fear about what she's going into and knows that she could have done anything in the entire world, and I would have been happy for her. So just to see her kind of like developing that, and I mean, she still has time obviously to change her mind 100 times before she goes and does that. But to just see her grow and see all of that, and again, like I said, she wants to go in kind of a male dominated world again too. So I'm
Yeah.
just happy with that. Like, have no fear and go do it. So that's super exciting to me.
I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. I've had a couple conversations around this with some different people, and a couple conversations specifically with men who have daughters about that age, and I've asked them that question and gotten a very mixed bag of responses. Some people are
Mm.
so excited about it, like hoorah, bring them in, and some people are terrified. But I love that from your perspective as somebody who's gone through it themselves and then has a daughter who is of course so similar to you, that you're like, heck yeah, bring her in if she so chooses, like
Yeah,
whatever they
totally.
want, whatever they
You
so
want
want. But
it.
there's most certainly a place for her here. So well, thank you so much for taking some time to chat with us today. We see you at Bridging Barriers in September?
Yeah, you will. I'm moderating a panel.
Heck yeah, you are.
Yes.
Well, we will see you there. And all of the members, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, you can let us know, message us back. We are happy to talk with you. But thanks for coming to another episode of WTFC, and we will see you again very soon.